Today we are checking out a knife that is designed by Jason Knight and made by We Knife Co. We Knife Co is known for making extremely high quality knives, so it's awesome to see them collaborate. I believe this is their first collaboration, and Jason Knight is a renowned and beloved knife maker in the knife industry. He is a real blacksmith, and I remember when I first joined the knife community, he was like the peak of what you could expect from a work of art from a true blacksmith that is hand forging knives. He was obviously so good that he was even a judge in the show Forged in Fire. I don't know how many episodes or how many seasons they had, but I know the show went on for a long time. And he sat by a bunch of other judges that are also from the knife world. And today we are going to take a deep look into his folding knife design with We Knife Co. And I'll tell you what, this just screams Jason Knight. So let's take a closer look. And here is the Essential Knight, designed by Jason Knight from We Knife Co. And the blade steel on this is M390. You can see it right there, right on that corner. And you can see Jason Knight's logo with this beautiful harpooned clip point blade with this beautiful satin finish. I have sharpened it. We'll talk about that here in a second, but it is a gorgeous looking blade. And even though I usually prefer my tips to be center line with the pivot or below, this is not much higher, so utility cuts are actually very easy with this one. And if you look at the titanium frame, like, you can see this somewhat of like a stamped concrete look. I know it's supposed to be like, you know, forged steel, right? Like when coming out of the oven or coming out of the furnace, and you know, it's got all that crackling on it. And yeah, I think it looks beautiful. I love the look of it, and then the texture is really nice. I almost wonder if they could have done this with two-tone color, like where the top layer or the high parts are one color and then the parts that are lower another color, because that looks really cool. We have a titanium mill pocket clip and back spacer, T8 titanium hardware all the way around, and it is riding on bearings, and boy does this have a strong detent. This has an amazing detent. The detent is, you're never gonna fail something like this. Some people might even consider it a little too strong. I personally love it because I love a nice strong detent. You can take advantage of that jimping and just light switch it, and it feels really good. You can push button it too, but the light switch is kind of what it likes the most, and it feels like it's just so snappy. It almost feels like it has recoil when it snaps out there, because that strong break of that detent makes that blade really thwack out there. But it's still not, or it's not too strong to use the fuller. So you got the reverse flick from the fuller, and the fuller is exposed perfectly enough to get a good solid flick on it. Now the thumb flick, I'm not the best at with this one, but I can do it. You know, you just gotta, it's not easy. So I only reverse flick and use the flipper tab on this one. The detent when you disengage, nice and early, well, it could be earlier, that's really early, but it's early enough where you're always past it when, even if you use the top, well, right there is where you're gonna hit it. So as long as you're not like all the way up at the top of the lock bar, as long as you basically use it where it wants to be used, you're gonna drop past the detent every single time, so you're not gonna get no double clutch or anything like that. Now, one place where this really shines to me is actually in use and ergonomics of the use. I think the blade and handle complement each other at almost the highest level. Just something about this handle in this shape, it feels so good in the hand. In fact, this geometry is not super thin. It's not really thick either. I don't want to make it seem like it's thick, but it's not super thin. We Knife Co is known for doing like really thin knives. So this is a little thick for them in some regard. Yet this thing is so slicey because of these ergos, because of just the shape and the design. I had a dull edge. It was the factory edge, and I had already burnt it up. Like, it was long gone. I almost didn't even want to carry it because of that reason. But I had some cardboard to break down for recycling, and it was quite a bit. And I used this with that dull edge, and I could not believe how well and how effortlessly it was just passing through materials, even though the edge, I could sit there and slide my fingers across. And a lot of it had to do with just it having such good ergonomics and you having a lot of leverage throughout your cuts. When I'm running down a box this direction or this direction, same thing. This handle, it's like it's built for all use, and I love that about it. So I knew after sharpening it, man, I was really gonna love the way this thing cut. So let's check out the sharpening really quick, and then we will go into my nitpicks and negatives. Just so you guys know, the 3x8 hybrids are going to be in stock any day. They're already in the United States. I'm not sure when you're watching this, so go and check the site for the 3x8s. If they're not there, they're going to be there any moment. And we have 1x6s also on the way. These are my favorite diamond plates, the hybrids. They are absolutely amazing. These are resin bonded diamond stones. So these are stones that will, you know, pretty much last you forever. They're not like regular diamond plates. Go watch my videos on the hybrid resin bonded diamond stones, and let's sharpen this puppy up and put a screamer on it. I'm sharpening this up about 17 degrees per side. I don't want to go with too low of an angle, even though I do usually like a very low angle. I think that a 17 would be perfect on something like this. A lot of times I like to go to 15 to get the extreme level of sharpness out of it, but we'll be all right with this one at 17. But these are, in my opinion, the ultimate stones, and We Knife Co does a good job, a great job with their 20 CV and M390. I used to give them crap a while back, but my goodness, every test I've done with their stuff in the past couple years has done extremely well. Like extremely, extremely well. Not only the sharpening experience and the burr removal process, which says a lot about the way it's heat treated, but just the way it feels on the stone and the crispiness of the edge that comes out. I am always excited and I'm always happy to sharpen up their 20 CV or their M390. So I went to my 100 grit hybrid, reprofiled on that. I didn't lower back the edge angle too far. I only went to like 17 degrees because the factory edge was like 20 degrees and I couldn't believe how good it was cutting. Normally I go down to about 15, but in this regard, I kept it around 17. And after going through all my stones and finishing off at about 5,000 grit, I remove my burr, which by this point it doesn't even have a burr, but I still do the burr removal process, and then I stropped on 0.5 micron stroppy stuff. It's my favorite diamond emulsion. You can also find that on Neeves Knife Co. And the results are a beautiful mirror polished edge. Not too big of a bevel, but you know, this, I'm gonna be resharpening it soon because, you know, this edge is more for, you know, when I put my first edge on it, I tend to beat it up quite a bit, and then I always wind up resharpening it again. So I'm very happy with the results. It came out super crispy. I'm talking about like very nippy. It has a ton of bite with a mirror polished edge, which, you know, like with M390 and 20 CV, you have to have it heat treated well for that to happen. Otherwise it's slick. It doesn't come out with a lot of bite. But like I said, they do a good job with theirs. So I was very happy with the results. And now you want to talk about cutting. This thing is cutting like a dream now. So this is something I'm very much enjoying carrying, and no complaints on the sharpening except for the plunge grind could have been a little bit farther away. We'll talk about that a little more in a second. However, I had enough room for a sharpening. In fact, I got enough room for a couple more sharpenings, so I can't complain too much. As far as the carry, the clip does go in and out of the pocket just fine. However, it does kind of land on these. I kind of wish that these were on the inside of the lock bar or possibly just moved a little bit. They did chamfer the edges of them, so it is the best case scenario. You might not be able to tell, but they did chamfer each edge of those lock bar relief cuts. So it's good. It's okay. It's not bad at all. But I do feel like on the way out, when I pull it out of the pocket, I hear a little bit of a pop. On the way in, it seems to be perfectly fine. Now, as far as nitpicks and negatives, really quick, one thing, like I already brought up, the plunge grind and sharpening choil, it's okay. Like, it was a passing one. But, you know, because you got to consider I've already sharpened, I've already lowered back the edge angle. So the end of the plunge grind is not touching the edge, which is what I typically don't like, because I don't want the first time I sharpen it for me to grind into my plunge when I've only sharpened it one time, especially on a high-end knife like this that is, you know, made of premium materials and something that could possibly be like a show piece and you want to be proud of, you know, when you hand it to somebody and it has a nice, beautiful sharpened edge. You want it to glisten. You don't want to see your plunge grind all chewed up. But like I said, I do have a few more sharpenings left before that'll happen. And then I do have room to cut my own choil in if I want to in the future. So not that big of a deal. My biggest complaint on this thing is I wish the lock bar had a cutout here for access. This is not bad. Like, it's probably the best case scenario for not having a cutout, but I still want it. You know, just, I like having the easiest access to disengage my knife. I want to be able to just go right from the side, bam, right there and get it. And in this regard, I do have to come around to the front and get that little bit of texture, which I do like that they put that texture there, because it does make it where it's not, one, it's not sharp here, and two, it's not slippery. So it does help when disengaging the knife. So it's never irritating. I'm not to the level like the other day with that knife when I was freaking out because it was so bad. This doesn't even fall in the same ballpark as that. I just wish we had a little bit better access there. The next thing is I like this satin finish. I love this satin finish and I love this harpoon, but man, it would have been so cool. And this isn't a nitpick or a negative. This is something I would have loved to have seen. I would have loved for that harpoon to have been a hollow harpoon. Ooh, with a nice deep satin. Oh my goodness. Even a deeper satin on the actual grind itself. Either way, you know, like I said, that's, you know, just me talking shit at this point. But I love it, man. I actually like this knife a lot. Not a big fan of lanyard holes. Not that I'm mad at it. I just, you know, I could have took it or leave it. I feel like if you're gonna put one in, put it in the back spacer so you don't see it drilled through the handle. Maybe that's something coming from, you know, the fixed blade world, which, you know, Jason Knight is, you know, a creator of. That's what he creates as a blacksmith. But perfect centering, no up and down, no side to side, no pivot lash. It has no detent lash. Great action. You know, there's a lot going on here, and you can feel it. You can feel that We Knife Co. put a lot of attention and detail into this, and I think that they did a phenomenal job. And I love to see them collaborating with such huge names in the knife industry, because it really shows, you know, not only what they're capable of, right? But it shows how far they've gone, that, you know, the biggest names are wanting to do work with them, you know, as I did too, because, you know, I've loved them for years. So awesome to see. And, you know, I guess that's about it. So work hard, stay tough. Till next time. Peace.